Money doesn't care how hard you work or whether you deserve it. You've been taught to believe that you have to follow a certain prescribed set of rules to have a crap ton of money. You have to follow a certain success pathway that's worked for someone else, have the right mindset, be able to visualize and feel the end outcome, work really hard, even struggle. And if you do everything right, then you'll be rich. But maybe you've noticed that you can be doing all those things and it's not working out like it's supposed to. It's also possible that actually you're doing pretty good. And some might even say that you're doing great. What are you complaining about? But how much you're working, glued to your laptop and your phone, hugely long hours, just feels so freaking hard. Why do you want money? Most people believe that money will give them more and better choices, freedom, happiness, joy, a more beautiful life. And of course, what you've been taught is that having lots of money is your ticket to freedom and a life of bliss. But is it? Is having money the ticket to having an abundant life? What I call spherical abundance, meaning abundance in every way possible, how much expansiveness of time you get to have, the depth and connection of your relationships, your connection to the divine, and of course, how much money you have are all a reflection of your frequency resonance. When you're in that resonance of spherical abundance, you can be rich as hell, still love dancing in the rain, feel and experience a super strong connection to the all that is, and be even more uniquely and magnificently you. But if you're not in that resonance of spherical abundance, you could be a billionaire and still feel like you don't have enough, still living in scarcity, even though you've got cash spilling out the wazoo. Not enough time, not enough joy in your life, not knowing who truly loves you for you and not your money, not enough trust, not enough. The fact is that money and abundance are not the same, but people often mistake one for the other and sell themselves short by focusing only on the money. In this video, I'm going to share 3 takeaways about money and how to have a lot more of it without sacrificing yourself. My name is Cheong. I catalyze your shift from the ordinary to the magic and exhilaration of the quantum by giving you the tools to change your frequency resonance so that the life you live matches the life you dream of. Takeaway number 1. Money doesn't make your life rich, and a life of poverty doesn't make you more noble. You know that expression, being born with a silver spoon in your mouth? Well, I have a client who was born not just with a single silver spoon in her mouth, but like a whole set. So this woman was born in the life that most people wish they had. She had servants, a chauffeur, beautiful house in an extraordinarily expensive city, designer clothing, the whole kit and caboodle. But she was miserable. All of her relationships were really abusive in the sense that somebody always wanted something from her. And she always felt less than because it didn't matter who the person was. She was less important than the money and the status of her family. So she would always try to prove that she herself was worthy of someone's attention or love. And she always had this sense of like, I have to please everybody. Because if I don't please everybody, then I'm going to not be liked. And then I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. So often she felt really lonely and she didn't know who she could trust. And it was like she couldn't really connect to people because she wasn't really at ease with herself. So she found frequency work through a friend of a friend. And when she found it, she was like, wait a minute, what's this? I don't even know what's possible with this, but I know that it can help me. So she started to release her distortion patterns. And when she started to release her distortion patterns around low self-worth and non-deserving, and surprisingly around scarcity of being loved, her resonance started to rise. And as her resonance started to rise, something spectacular started to happen. She became more at ease with herself. She's like, okay, well, I'm not perfect, but I don't need to bend over backwards to make these people like me. I can be quiet when I want to. I can be loud when I want to. I can be awkward sometimes, and that's okay. And the more her frequency resonance rose, the more at ease and happy with herself that she was. So this funny thing started to happen. She didn't really need to have a lot of connectivity with people because she started to really just enjoy her own company. But as her frequency resonance rose, suddenly people who didn't know who she was in terms of her family status, who didn't know the wealth that she was from, started to become more attracted to her. And I don't mean like men chasing her. I mean women who are like, hey, who are you? You seem like someone I want to hang out with, started to approach her. And she started to develop these relationships with new people that didn't care about her wealth, her family name, her pedigree, what she wore, and her life became so much more rich because she started to develop not just friendships, but community. She starts to also, for some reason, feel compelled to look at her health and what she's eating and how much she's moving. And she's realizing, wait a minute, I need to be outside more. I need to be eating better. And not only are her relationships getting richer and she's developing more community, her physical well-being starts to get clearer and brighter. So when you start to release your distortion patterns, what happens is the richness of life really starts to amplify. I've noticed that a lot of people confuse money and abundance. So money or financial abundance is an aspect of abundance. So abundance has to do with everything, meaning your feeling of connection with the divine, your feeling of being on purpose, your feeling of being fulfilled, your impact on other people, your connection with others and how deep and nurturing those relationships are. If you feel held and supported, if you can notice the magic and the brilliance of life, that to me is abundance in addition to money. So am I saying that money is bad? Nope. Money is great. You can do all kinds of things with money in terms of having options, and you can do things to help other people with money. So I'm certainly not saying that money is bad, but my feeling is that most people will narrow their focus just to the money and think that if I have money, then I'm going to be happy. But money doesn't bring you happiness. Abundance is what brings you happiness, especially if it's spherical abundance. So how do you get to spherical abundance? I'm talking about all these amazing, great things. Well, spherical abundance is accessible not through your will and not through thinking of your checklist of all the things you need to achieve in order to feel like you're abundant. Spherical abundance is a resonance. And in order to access it, you need to be vibrating high enough in order to experience it. Now, you may think when I'm describing this that spherical abundance is out there somewhere. You gotta chase it real hard, you gotta do all the things, and then maybe you'll have spherical abundance. Let me share something with you. Spherical abundance already exists. It has always existed. It always will exist. It's limitless. You have access to it. But the challenge is you have something that I call distortion patterns, which keep you from remembering that spherical abundance already exists within your field. So you think that you're separate from it. And because you think that you're separate from it, what you're doing is you're creating more amplification of your own scarcity, your separateness from it, that you can't ever have it, that you can't ever experience it because you don't deserve it. But when you start to release your distortion patterns, what happens is you start to remember, wait a minute, it's already there. I just have to clear these distortion patterns which keep my resonance low. And when I do that, my experience of abundance starts to become bigger, brighter, and I start to be more aware of all the magic, the synchronicity of life. You get to not only have a different experience of life in terms of the wonder and the awe and the amazingness of life, but you get to start to experience financial abundance too. And the ironic and kind of divine joke kind of thing? When your frequency resonance really, really rises, you don't really care anymore about the financial abundance because you're so in this amazing state of wonder and awe of all the magic of life. So because you're not as attached to money and the chase for it, you're in the state where you're more open and in the flow of life. And the financial abundance that you experience is just the icing on the cake. Because there's so much more to abundance. There's the richness of your relationships, your connection to other people, the delight you get to experience in community, like laughing your ass off with your best friends or going on some wild adventure with your buddies and trying to get out of like some sticky situation and then making it through. Whatever your flavor is of community, of relationship, that is a microcosm of the oneness, and you get to experience it in embodied form. So there's so much more richness to life than just money. You get to start to experience the importance of being really present in this moment, because that is the expansion point into the infinite, and you get to start to experience the spaciousness of time. So, like I said, there's so much more to abundance than just money. Takeaway number 2. Making a crap ton of money doesn't require blood, sweat, and tears. I have a client who used to be very frenetic in terms of how much she felt she had to do. So let's just take, for example, a day would start off with her making breakfast for her kids and her husband, and then she'd have to rush to get her kids dropped off at school, and her husband would be sitting there eating his bowl of cereal, just really enjoying the moment, and she would be like banging all the pots and pans around, showing him passive-aggressively that she was doing everything and she wasn't getting support, but he was clueless. Didn't even notice she was banging the pots and pans, and then she'd have to grab the kids and then drop them off at school, and then this would reflect and amplify into her work life. So here she is at work, she started this company, she has a team, she's the one working the longest hours, she pays herself the least, she is just cranky as hell. And it's when she finds frequency work that things start to change. Because at first, she's like, well, I guess I feel more relaxed when I listen to the meditations, but soon she started to notice a shift. Instead of banging around in the morning, noticing that her husband was not helping, she realized, wait a minute, this is my distortion pattern around not being supported. I just released that yesterday. So instead of banging the pots and pans, I'm going to say to him, babe, I'm in a rush today, and I'm really hoping that instead of you finishing your cereal in the regular amount of time, that perhaps you can eat your cereal and also help me with lunch. That would be really helpful for me to get out the door in a way where I don't feel stressed. And to her utter shock, he shifted. He's like, yeah, I'd be happy to help you that way. And he would make lunch. So things started to shift also in her work life. Here she is, taking on all the responsibility, and she thinks to herself, wait a minute, why do I have this distortion where I feel like I have to work harder than everyone else, and that in order to be worthy of all this money that I'm generating in the business, that I have to sacrifice myself? So she starts to release her distortion patterns around that. And guess what happens? She employs a team instead of trying to do everything herself. Not only that, she hires contractors. So now, instead of working 16 hours a day, she's working 6. She gets to spend more time having more leisure for herself, doing things that nourish her. She gets to meditate in the morning. She wakes up a little later. She gets to do her little yoga practice. She has a little time to connect with her kids. And everything happens right on time. And speaking of time, instead of feeling like she's chasing time and she's never going to catch up and there's never enough of it, all of a sudden, as her frequency resonance rises, she starts to experience spaciousness of time, where time literally expands for her. And in each moment where she's with her kids, where she's at work, whether she's running, time feels much more expanded. So oddly, everything starts to feel more nourishing for her. She has more spaciousness to observe and to notice opportunities that she wouldn't have noticed otherwise because she was so wrapped up in getting everything done. So magic starts to come into her life in a way that she wasn't expecting. Now, this woman starts to find collaboration, or rather, it finds her. People who want to do different deals with her. Opportunities expand. She starts to make a heck of a lot more money in her business. Now, she's working less hours, but all of a sudden, her business is starting to really take off in terms of strategic partnerships, money that's coming in, deals that she's doing that she really enjoys that not only help her investors, her company, but they start to really help the community as well. So when you start to rise in your frequency resonance, not only can you have a lot more money, but your experience in terms of the richness of life starts to become easier and more available to you too. So am I suggesting that money isn't important? Of course not. You need money to pay your bills. You need money to buy that plane ticket when you jet set off to Paris. So obviously you need money. But the thing is, most people focus just on the money instead of focusing on raising their frequency resonance so they can start to enter that resonance of spherical abundance. Because when you come into that resonance of spherical abundance more and more, the opportunity to receive money, to have a strategic partnership come out of left field, an opportunity that you didn't perceive showing up for you where you receive more money starts to become more and more available to you. I mean, I've had what I call individual frequency calibrations or one-to-one, where literally the next day, the person who'd been struggling in their job gets an offer for a job that pays 50% more than what they were making. I've had people who were in group frequency calibrations where their resonance starts to rise and a house that hadn't sold for 6 months now suddenly goes into contract. I've had people tell me stories of their frequency resonance rising and people that they didn't even know knew them reach out to them for strategic partnership. So money becomes more available to you in ways that isn't just about mapping things out and struggling real hard and working to have more of it. You start to enter a resonance where money starts to come to you. Now, when you're in the frequency resonance of lack, of scarcity, where all you're doing is you're focusing like on your debt or how much you have to work in order to make enough, or even it doesn't matter how much you work, you're never going to have enough. That kind of stuff. You're up in your head, spinning around in all those thoughts and those stories about how you're never going to make it, and you start to then feel like you're in despair. You're not present, centered in your body in the present moment of linear time. You're up here in your head, amplifying all those distortion patterns. So in order to start to access that resonance of spherical abundance, you first have to come into your center, into the center of your body, aware of the present moment of linear time. So if you'd like to learn how to come into the center of your body, click on the link in the description below for my free Centering into the 0 Point group frequency calibration. Takeaway number 3, money's actually an amplifier. So what I mean by an amplifier is it will amplify all the distortion and it will also amplify clarity. So for example, I have a friend who grew up in an immigrant family, and when his family first arrived in New Zealand from China, they were really poor. So they became farmers. And as they farmed, they started growing a business where it was an export business for all the surplus veggies and fruits that they were growing. Their business started to grow. The kids, as they grew up, started to pitch in with the business, and the family bought their first house, which everybody lived in. The business continues to grow. They invest in other properties in order to supplement their income. And the family's really, really tight. You know, even when the kids got older, they would come over for dinner every weekend. They always celebrated Christmas together. This is a really tight-knit immigrant family. Now, when the parents died, there was all this money to be shared amongst the kids because they had houses they'd bought, the business was doing well. And all of a sudden, when that money became available to the kids, it started to amplify their distortion patterns of scarcity, of like, this is mine, that's yours, I deserve it. All of this not enoughness was starting to be amplified. So what got lost was the love that they had for each other, the connectivity, how they laughed together, how they played together, because money was amplifying all the distortion in the kids. And now all of a sudden, attorneys are being called, people stop talking to each other. So that's what I mean by it starts to, or rather money starts to amplify distortion. Now it also will amplify clarity. So there are stories of billionaires who buy expensive real estate, and when they get to a town, they fund the school, they fund the police force, they fund the fire department. So they're using their money for good because all the money that they have is amplified in the clarity that they are, and they just use the money as a tool to uplift others. And I have another friend who is an online marketing guy. Now, he makes a ton of money, and he makes it by helping other people to learn, to grow. And when he makes his millions, he and his family take a little portion. They live modestly in Canada, and the rest of it he gives away, because what he does with his money is he builds schools in Africa. And he's even adopted a couple of the kids from the place where he's building all these schools. So the thing is, money isn't the root of evil, like everyone says it is. It's the attachment to money that is the bad part. And the thing is, it's an amplifier of both the distortion and also the clarity. So if you can release your distortions around money and everything else, then money, when you start to receive it, really amplifies your clarity. So do you have to make money amplify your clarity? Is that something you have to do now? No. All you have to focus on is releasing your distortion patterns. Because as you release your distortion patterns, which are creating all this static in your field that cause you to be obsessed about having more money, it causes you to look at your scarcity only. When you start to release your distortion patterns around money and everything else, your resonance rises. So when money as an amplifier comes into your field, it really amplifies the clearer and clearer you're becoming. And the crazy thing is that most people aren't aware of is that money is also a reflection of your own frequency resonance. So the higher your frequency resonance, the more abundant you will be in all facets of your life, including money. Now, one of the big things that people have to release is their attachment to having money, because a lot of people are desperate, like money is going to save you. Now, like I said before, of course you need money to pay your rent and your bills and all that stuff, so you need it. But it's strange because we really attach to money as if it's going to save us from all these horrible things. But when you start to release your attachment to money, your resonance rises, and what it is that you have access to is so much greater in terms of your awareness of your connection to the One, your own limitlessness, your awareness of your own vast abundance. And when you have an awareness of that, your need for money really drops away. And as I mentioned before, that's when money starts to come in. Now, I've been talking a lot about spherical abundance. So how do you start to access more of this frequency resonance of limitless abundance? Well, if you'd like to learn more about that, then check out my next video. I'll see you inside.